and it is the LEC. And do you know what? I actually got, I'll give you a bit of cross promotion here. I do a hot take point made show in League of Legends where we generate hot takes and crazy angles. And the person I do that with is I do it with Zabatine, the old coach of a bunch of like the LCS teams, and obviously a French guy who works on the broadcast. But the person I have to generate some of the hot takes, I have a guy called Keyray, who you might have once or twice seen. He's on Rich's Euro League show. But aside from that, he is just for real. It's not a troll. He's just a fan that came from my Discord. He's just a guy who's just followed esports for a long, long time. And he has like an interesting perspective. And he actually gave me an analogy I thought was a fucking banger, actually, Yamato. I'd never thought of this one before. So we're going to get into all the LEC topics, but I want to start in reverse order. So obviously, you've just had this amazing win by KOI where they've won the fucking split. Remember, like, when they made the last year, when that squad made the finals, that was like Adam didn't play. What the fuck was Fnatic doing? Oh my God, fluke by Frisco. Like this time they've won it like straight up. They are the champions. And one of the details is that means Super is now a champion. And this is a banger analogy. I never heard this one before. I was trying to think because I was saying basically on Twitter that like I've said this to you in the past. Super's one of those players that's grown on me split by split by split. I did think early on because what happened is the first thing I remember was I looked at this guy's game and I was like, bro, I've seen all the great mechanical players. You're not fucking Viper of a Europe. Like, listen, people might not like upset when he played defensive. He's got fucking some hands on, no boy. That guy's got some mechanics on him, you know. You have to, like, I might not like the fact that Reckless was super defensive, but you can see his fucking hands are crazy. Tupa never had that for me. He was always just like a good player. He's an above average player, can be a good player, but I never thought like this person should be able to go hand. You know, like when Callist went against even the top players, you're like, maybe he can beat them. I never thought that about Super. And then obviously his interviews made him seem too arrogant, right? But now I actually do see it's the classic thing. He is I don't know if he actually is arrogant, mate. His game lives up to it, and he is a really confident player. But someone gave me the best analogs. I was trying to think, who does that fit? Because you know when I've in the past said like the sneakies of the world, the difference is like Sneaky wasn't like very arrogant though. He wouldn't trash talk. Bro, someone gave me, I want to throw it to you. Someone said this is a bit like Attila. Because actually, I will say Attila again when he was like beefing with Upset, I was like, it's Upset, bro. You're not as good as him. Listen, you might beat him with your team, but you're not better than him as an ADC. But I'll tell you what I did always appreciate. I think Attila believed that. I don't think Attila, like Super, these guys aren't trolling, by the way. They're not just doing like a Jojo, like, lol, I guess I'm just better, but they're like, wink, wink, I'm just doing trash talk to him. I think like Attila, Super actually believes he's the best, mate. And he actually believes like he should beat fucking Callist and Upset and all these guys. What do you think? Because I always thought actually one of Attila's biggest strengths was confidence. This guy really believed he was fucking shit, bro. That wasn't a joke, right?
No, definitely. It's like I think the analogy from the personality side definitely makes sense. I do think it works. It works super well. I think that's like the first step. It's like KOI's history here. Like even in situations where on paper they were worse, if we just look at the time span of this roster, there were moments where they beat teams that were on paper better than them when they were given that opportunity. There's a lot of teams out there.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of teams out there that had those same opportunities, like a BDS. But you knew that BDS walked into those cities knowing they were the weaker team. And I think that's like half of the battle. And if you extend that as well into how you practice and how you approach the game, like something that they really emphasize in the interviews is like, we deserve to win this shit because we worked harder than everybody. Like that was a sentiment that everybody on the team echoed. Like if you bring that same level of confidence into your practice, like this is what makes championships. I was very surprised by this result because I do think the odds are were very stacked against them, knowing that they came from the lower bracket. It's like they beat KC in a very close series. It could have ended either way, right? And I think that was I kind of thought that series was something that KC could like prepare them like selves out of, because they ended the series on like a Pyke Wukong game against the Braum, which is one of Alvaro's best champions. But KOI steadily improved. And the main difference for me is, like we mentioned, like Hope breaking new ceilings. I think Super did too. I think his role on this team, what has been super impressive is that he might not have the flashy archetype. Like we made the comparisons, for example, Hansama's European Gumayushi, and we have like the Upset is like the Viper of the region. If there's anyone like that has the archetype, like he made the comparison himself of saying that he's better than Deft. Like in terms of, obviously it's like not a one-to-one comparison, but in terms of how Alvaro keeps active and plays with jungle, there's never a situation where I'm like, oh, This is a situation where the AD carry is suffering. He always makes the right decisions of where to be, how he generates gold, and then eventually, I think just his game IQ is super, super high. Like he always has a path of knowing how to be effective, even though he's not like the main part of the game plan, which reminds me of how like DRX, it's like we see Barrow like playing Heimerdinger, like level 3 ganking top, and it's like, what the fuck is happening to Deft and bot playing Kate? You know, he's playing 1v2, and it's like, it's just like a side note, a side detail, and somehow he participates in the game and finds ways to come online. And I think that's like Super's biggest strength. I think that he has a very good range of champions. I think the evolution, like the fact that Senna came through, I think has been super, super important. But I think that layer of safety and also consistency is always there, while Kalist is someone that plays insanely risky, while Upset and Hansama are more players that want to be have the game being played through them. They're less comfortable if they are like not the focal point of the game. And I think this is what Super's biggest strength is that he's willing to take the back foot. And I think Attila was also the same. It's like the main point of that team was like Kabusha Jizuke driving the game, and Attila found ways to be useful and to find prio and find champions that mixed super well with the support. But I think Super had series here that were like insanely good. I want to also give like so much credit to just Alvaro and Elioya, because in a field that is quite stacked, in my opinion, in Europe in particular, I think they came out of this playoffs as just the best performing jungler, best performing support. Like a Mickey can maybe have some arguments there, sure, but I think Alvaro and Elioya was so damn good through and through. I thought they would lose some steam, especially in the BO5s, because I thought they would rely on very specific champions. But the way they understood the layers in terms of where the draft would go and the next step, I think they were super sharp. And I think, you know, we always made the comparison, like we always saw how when Spawn joined Team Liquid that they improved. Melzet being off like parental leave and joining the team, they just started popping off right off the bat. Yes. So fair play. Like this is a team, like this is such a beautiful championship to win, because there was a steady fucking improvement on everyone involved, and it's so similar to like the Anyone's Legend story, because it's just so clear that this was like a team won championship. It wasn't like, oh, Caps is just the GOAT. He just won. It's like there's a clear timeline and improvement, and them just being faster in the idea of getting better and better against the top four, which was very tough competition, I think, this year.
By the way, I'm with you on the Melzet point. If you go and look, it's almost quite literally the moment he comes back, they just become like twice as good as a team, and they suddenly start cooking, and like they're in all these matches against the top teams. And by the way, the playoff globe is crazy. Like, aside from that upper bracket final where G2 beat them, like I actually think they completely outplayed KC in both series, mate. I even think they could have won some of the games they lost. Like, they looked really good. And by the way, I'm definitely with you. Even though I understand, look, it is, by the way, this is why I always say narratives when they're built up have to be honoured both ways. So in the same way as when this team failed, I would say to Elioya, like, it's your team, mate. You handpicked the team. You're the captain. Well, in the same sense, like, if you win like this, then I don't mind if people do want to give Elioya like playoff MVP. He definitely was mega impactful. But I'll tell you what, if I have to give it to a player, I would actually give it to Super, mate. I think he played a fucking phenomenal playoffs. Another thing about this player that I really vibe with, bro, is he's actually a big game player too. That's also why I see he's hard to nail down, because there's a lot of really great players with insane hands. Some of the LPL players we talk about, sometimes they don't always do as well in the big game. That's why they get nervous. This guy, I'll tell you one thing about this guy. He doesn't look like he ever gets nervous, mate. He always goes in. Have you noticed that? When he's decisive and he has his angle, that's why I think this guy does think it. I see why he did the interview. I think in his brain, he's just like, who gives a fuck if, like, in an aim test, you'd be slightly faster than me? In the actual server, I'm going to beat you. And I kind of fuck with that, because I've now seen him do it enough. Like, I actually think last year he would even carry some of the bad games. And now that they're actually a good team, he could be a winning factor in this one, mate. Look, I will say, I think he's going to have a tough time at MSI, but then again, I should have thought he should have a tough time seeing these guys. He should have a tough time against Upset and fucking Hansama and Kalist. These guys are studs. These guys are the players we're going to want to send. So if he can beat them, fuck it. You know what? Load it up. Let's see him against Viper. Let's see him against Ruler, mate. Ruler isn't that great right now. I can't even believe I'm actually thinking out loud, but it's real. There's a world where actually Super can match up with fucking Ruler in a BO5. Like, again, what world has this got? Vampire, fucking car race. Bloody hell. I know this year's mental in it. It doesn't even make any sense, but whatever.
It's Fearless, baby.
I know. No, it's the world we're in, mate. No, props to Super. And by the way, mad props to Koi. Because I agree with you. I don't want this to be remembered as like a fluke win. You know when Mad Lions with Niski and Elyoya back in 2023 won that one split? That was a fluke. I mean, they themselves will even tell you we never won any scrims. We were never going to do with the MSI. The joke is we were almost having like internal civil war and like want to kick people out the team, but we couldn't. Whereas the difference is, this is a squad that actually worked on all their issues. They definitely got way better than Winter, by the way. And then once Melzek came back, they're actually just fucking good, mate. Like, but there's another thing, by the way. Let's give some props to this Melzek guy. Look what he's done with these two different rosters. Like, he's had his down moments, but he's also had his fucking highs. And the highs are way higher than anyone expected. Nobody made these predictions. So this guy, I've got to give him credit. He must be a good coach, mate. He's definitely worked with these players in a very interesting way.
And to even bring us back to the beginning of Elyoya's career, it's like he won the 2 splits with, of course, Mad Lions, Humanoid, and then it was like the big moment, the pivotal moment after the whole Niski split and all the drama, where there was like the whole Phoenix thing on Twitter, and looking at it from that point in time, I thought Mad Lions was crazy to move away from Mac and Pad. But then looking at in terms of how all the careers have panned out. It's like Elyoya, he found himself in so many finals with rosters that maybe shouldn't have been, and he has now won a split with this roster. And then you look over to some of the other players that were a part of that winning roster. Of course, in 2021, it's like Humanoid now with Fnatic is not looking that great. You have, of course, Mac and Pad with Vitality. It's like the owner is saying if they don't make top 4, they're fired. Is saying that publicly, which I think is kind of based, you know. But in terms of how like all the careers have panned out, it's like at this point, it's like looking at Elyoya's body of work, it's quite impressive. I think like the only pain point always was like those international events with Mad Lions, but to pin that on him doesn't really make that much sense in the grand scheme of things. And now, you know, he lost planes against EG, and now he's playing together with Jojo Pune, and I'm just happy that the vision of what Jojo Pune should have been and is now on the team, I'm happy that that's fulfilled. Because when that move was announced, I thought it was a brilliant move. Because it was very, very obvious that Jojo Pune is super, super talented as a player, and he needs to just move environments. We knew the moment he's fired from C9 and removed from C9 that the next team he's going to be in is going to figure out all of that shit. And then he's placed into Europe and in a completely different environment. You're no longer in sunny Los Angeles. You're in fucking Berlin. There's nothing to do. It's cold as fuck. There's only like, you know, parties and drugs, but you know, most pro players don't touch that. Some do, but let's not get into that. Like him being pulled into this environment with, you know, this roster that clearly, evidently, even last year worked their ass off, I think was just a very, very good move. So I'm happy that Jojo Pune, you know, also has found form. You know, the story of how they won is just, I don't know, that to me this is like competition. I'm so happy.
No, this is the team where if you could go back in time and send the Netflix documentary crew, it'd be this squad you'd want to watch, mate. Yeah, maybe last split it'd be KC for obvious. This split would be fucking MKOI. I bet the up and down must be crazy. Like I'd love to see what would happen behind the scenes at that like home stand, etc. Oh, I bet there'd be some glorious fucking drama. And I'm with you. Like you have to give props across the board here. Like if you actually look at it, first of all, Koi did take a gamble building around Elyoya, but it's worked. And I've got to say, Elyoya, this is why, by the way, if people don't know why I hype Skewmond on G2 so much, it's because I have a massive affinity for junglers who themselves are like, oh, I'm not here to make like you slightly better and like be the bottler to you. I'm the star. Like if you play to me, mid laner, then we win the game. And I think if you look, like this is like Inspired is like that, Elyoya is like that. I think if you go, like I think Tarzan can play like that sometimes. I like the jungler who's like his vision of the. Put it this way, I'll give you the analogy. If you were to ask, I think fabulously skilled junglers like Razork and Blabber, like why did you do that move there? I don't think they can verbalize it or explain like what they were. I think they just have a feel and then they have the balls to go for it and then they have the outrageous raw talent, the mechanics to pull it off. If you sat down and Inspired a fucking an Elyoya, Skewmon, these guys. I bet they could tell you everything they were thinking. They could tell you what the clue was here, and what they were working off, and what the idea was, and what they were asking for. These guys look like they just have the like vision of the game. So when you actually win, I always think Elyoya is one of those people where if this guy talks, mate, he might seem like he's arrogant, but I get it. The arrogance is deserved. Clearly, it's like a very good understanding of the game and the map, and what he wants from his teammates, etc. And that's why the Jojo move. I'm with you. That move actually, and it looked good in the off season anyway. It is flourished in a way you couldn't even expect it. Because first of all, he's not only had good individual games, but you look at his problems last year. He clearly has the hands. He clearly is a guy who has the ego to want to be good, but he needs some guidance in the game. He's not the guy who's just got. I think people take for granted that every mid lane is supposed to have this crazy macro knowledge. Like, not everyone's a fucking scout or a faker or one of these. Like, that's quite rare. So you put him with El Yoya, perfect. Just like with Inspired, what a great pairing that's been. And by the way, let's go on to that topic because we didn't talk about Jojo much, mate. This guy deservedly was a meme in the winter split, and early on in this split, he was having some games that looked kind of fucking silly when Melzit wasn't there. But I'll tell you what a fucking dope narrative that the fucking MSI is in Canada. He is from Canada. He came over, so understandably part of why he was a meme in winter was he wasn't just having off games, but he's this like he's this NA champion and MVP. He's coming over to LEC. And bro, we make mid laners, so of course we all want to be like, listen, little bro, this isn't your fucking LTA or whatever nonsense you call it now. This is the LEC, mate. Get back of the queue. We've got loads of mid laners here. Bro, this guy's going to get like a hero's welcome when he comes back. He's the champion of fucking LEC already. What a fucking dope storyline.
Oh, it's super cool. It's the fact that it's like the first North American import as well. Like that in itself as a player, of course, because we have plenty of coaches. But that is like insane because for the longest time, the LTA or the LCS was plundering the European players, the Mithi, the Svens, the Bjergsens, like all of the legends in the league besides like Doublelift are just imported players. So the fact that in LTA now in terms of how they are suffering, it's like it's weird how the perfect storm kind of shaped up and they took the opportunity on him and that he took it all the way. I was nervous there for some time because Winter Split was atrocious. Like, it was really, really bad. It's like, it's funny. You get those guys that's like, oh, you're flaming Jojo Pions. Yeah, because he played bad and now he played good. So I praise him. That's how things work. It's like, I don't make an opinion of the first game they play and hold on to that for the rest of my life. That's not how it works. He played bad, now he plays good. And now he deserves praise. And, him going to MSI, super, super cool. The final player that we can mention too, because I think Midwin, super, super stable. I like the fact that he was capable of just playing the whole range of the meta, was ready to play the tanks, was ready to play the counters into Rumble, played Rumble himself.
It's a lot more sacrificial this split, don't you think?
He's just
before, to me, he always had to have his weird picks or his unique. Yeah. It seemed like he was just willing to let other people carry the game, mate.
I just I found like a really, really good balance. And you mentioned already like teams in other regions that are performing super, super well now. It's usually like in that kind of construction of the team, it's a top laner that plays in isolation, whether it's Keen, whether it's now Midwin, or we mentioned, of course, Cube and Flandre. It's like in this current state of the game, it's good to have a player that is capable of playing in isolation and has a very good range of champions, because I think top lane, you can skew the game and find picks later that are very, very good against what the enemy drafted. So having that range is super, super important. And in the end, it's like people were like he played against a Kana. Like Kana was probably like the most dangerous player in that KC series. BB, regardless of what people want to talk about his form, I didn't think his form was that great, but like Midwin shat on him. It's like the top laners in Europe, you can talk about their individual underperformances or overperformances, but Midwin played against a field that is on paper very strong. So I think that this KOI roster, if I just look at the two teams going to MSI out of the LAC, I am way more excited about KOI, because I think that at least they bring a certain nuance to their early game and their approach in the game that they can find advantages against some of the best teams in the world, I'm sure. Yes. They can put themselves in positions where they can actually have like a winning position. While looking at G2, I think G2 is playing like the most basic form of League of Legends right now, where it's like, oh, we want to stabilize the lanes, and then we want to just set up for the objectives. Kind of like a BDS of old that is like very cookie cutter in the way they play, and they don't really supply any level of creativity, because the two roles with the most amount of agency in the game, Labrov and Skumond in jungle and support, aren't really offering that level of creativity. It's like Skumond is very, very good at driving games where he is like carrying and he's ahead and he can play it on his own time. And Labrov the same way. If they have pushed through bot, Labrov knows how to leverage that. But when the game states are even or a little bit worse, they don't know how to find advantages through others. And I think that KOI as a team moving into MSI is going to be way more excited than G2, because G2's gameplay pattern is basically, oh, we're falling behind and we're just gonna hope you make a mistake. That didn't work against KOI. It worked against Fnatic, but that's about it.
Yes. No, that's the funny thing is, look, I'll give them credit. The upper bracket final was good against KOI, but I'm with you. I actually think put it this way, I haven't done it yet, obviously, but when I do the Best Damn League show, I really might even choose as my ugly point. You know, we do that format where it's like you pick a god, a bad, and an ugly point. My ugly point will actually be that fucking Fnatic series tricked G2. It made everyone go, G2's back to the best. And I always said, like, they weren't though. Like, Fnatic was like that close to winning and they kept throwing. Like, true, G2 was able to like wait and catch the throw, as I always say, which is the hard part, and then punish it. But bro, the point is, if Fnatic hadn't given them the way back in, they would have just been beaten straight up. They would have been in the low bracket immediately. So I do think people overrated the G2 angle. Like, if you notice, the reason I was going wild on Twitter about this topic is people were doing that lazy thing, Yamato. It's like the European version of T1 wins Worlds. When T1 wins Worlds these 2 times, their fans just go like, right, I'm just going to recontextualize the whole season. They just don't care about regular split. And then also Faker's already got all the LCKs, so who gives a shit? And then, you know, MSI's like whatever. But then Worlds, when it really matters and everyone's leveled up, that's when they bring their best kit. So people were doing that with G2. Like, well, what did you expect? Everyone knew G2 would be the best in the end. Guys, they haven't won any of the splits now. And in fact, both finals, they've gotten convincingly beaten. And in fact, I thought in this one, it was kind of actually shocking. But I'm with you. On the KOI side first, I actually do think the best thing about KOI is in some way, I agree they're like an anyone's legend. They are more than the sum of the parts. They're more than the names. And in fact, one thing I love is the coherence of the team. They play as an actual team. Look, it might be a bit formulaic, but it is a formula. It works. And crucially, Yamato, and this is why I give massive props to Melzer, you can tell everyone in this team knows their job in the formula. No one's confused or out there. If I actually do think of some of the squads that are going to go, again, another sentence I never thought I'd say out loud, but this actually would be the sort of team that might be able to like fucking upset like a BLG or something. Like, I could see a BLG just being like, how are they even in the game at this point in time? We're better than these guys. But like you said, they're sneaky. The way they get into the game is really interesting. It works, by the way. Once they get to the objectives, if they're even state, they have a chance to win. And by the way, I can't even believe I'm thinking of this, but I want to see a world where fucking, you know, it's like a close barren fight and fucking Super's cleaned up BLG or something. Like, it's possible. It's actually possible now, guys. These things are all on the table. These are real opinions. They're not just crazy, like, out there ideas. So no, mad props to KOI. Let's talk about G2 though, because bro, somehow G2 has sort of skated by without any criticism here, because everyone was so focused on hating on Fnatic for coming fourth, then KC for coming third, and then no one really thought KOI would win. And then it's only like halfway into the final, you're like, shit, they're not only going to win, they might even 3-0 this motherfucker. Like, what do you think? What happened to G2? Because I'm with you. I do think the problem is, like, this is why I hated the idea people wanted to destroy the regular split narrative. Bro, some of their issues from regular split still clearly exist in this team. Like, this isn't the team that front runs all the time. They don't have a big gold lead on everyone all the time. The lanes aren't all the head all the time. Like, they are actually like they're a good squad of players, but there's clearly some flaws. So what do you think of G2?
Yeah, I think it's strange, especially in this finals, because I did think in that first series, that the first time faced against KOI, I think they played a lot better, because in my mind, I thought it was very clear that they worked on like how the jungle support play together and how they fight together, actually finding opportunities, and also playing like a very side lane heavy game. Like, I remember that opening game they did in the first series where they played like Ari Camille, and you could actually see like Broken Blade and Caps actually like playing together. And they were actually like playing on side. They were like undermining the opponent. They were like going or walking out on the same lane with double TP. And I thought, okay, G2's actually making this team again be more focused on how a Caps and BB would like to play the game, because historically these guys are always playing on side. They're creating advantages through traps, and they are creating advantages through just pushing first and cheating tempo. And I feel like now, looking at G2 in this KOI final, I feel like they reverted back to exactly like that same formula that they tried to just leverage throughout the regular split. And that's a very, very normal reaction when it comes to less experienced players, when it comes to like a finals. Because I like in the end, it's like KOI managed to live up to all the big moments. It's like they played on stage in the arena with what was it, 12,000 people, and they managed to win two best of threes, and they managed to leverage that pressure into something beautiful. Like Miriam was shouting and swearing, I like this type of energy. It's like you're in the right state of mind to try to win. While G2, it seemed like the pressure came and they reverted back. And I felt exactly the same thing when it came to them losing against KC, where these roles that they need to carry over and these opportunities that Skumon needs to find, it's like he was a little bit too glued to the camps, because a big problem in this series that they played in the finals was that Elioya got a level 3 gank in almost every game. He pressured Invade, got a level 3 gank in, and he really put the pressure on Skumon that wants to play a little bit more of a calmer game. And I think now the meta globally, I think Anyone's Legends is also a team that does it super, super well in terms of like pressuring, like early levels, looking for the invade angles, looking for the split maps. I think this is something that just Elioya did brilliantly well. And the moment Skumon like fell behind, it seemed like he's just going to resort back to what he knows, and he couldn't really farm himself out of those holes.
They played a little bit safe.
A little bit too safe, didn't try to find angles to like break the pattern of the game. Yes. And the main thing is, like I mentioned, Elioya level 3 ganking, the target was the bot lane. If Hansama and Labrov are not winning and they are not in a comfortable position, they also resort back to this type of condition. Where it's like, they like, if we make the comparison to the LPL series that we saw today, it's like Billy is aware. It's like, we have 1 item against 1.5. This Drake is coming up. Or Anyone's Legends, same thing. It's like, we have to fight this Drake because next Drake, they're going to have 2 items. We're going to get outskilled. We're going to lose the game. They die miserably on that Drake, but at least they took an opportunity on their condition. And G2 just played in a way where they're just waiting and waiting and waiting. And I think that a lot of the criticism people put onto Broken Blade and Caps, and I think understandably so, it's like, especially that last game, how BB played, he got solo killed against the Kisante, how he played the team fight. There was that moment where Caps, like in an absurd way, just walked into Melee, Leona, and River. I don't know what the hell that was.
I know.
Fair criticism, but I also think that with Caps, I'm always going to say this, it's like the way he plays is going to shift heavily depending on what he thinks his teammates are going to give him. And when he resorts back to playing like Orianna in the middle of a series, that means that he doesn't have belief that he is going to actually gain any like assistance. I remember like there was this moment where like I was at the World Finals Analyst Desk 2018 when they lost against, of course, like Fnatic lost against IG. And I was at the bar, a fly in the room, and a big topic of conversation was exactly that, is that Caps didn't feel like they could win the 2v2 mid jungle against Ning and Rookie. So he pivoted. Went from playing Irelia to then playing Victor and Azir because he just wanted to play in isolation. Nice. So he's going to give that response. Like if he doesn't feel he's going to get help in the game, he's going to resort back into things that maybe he can do something himself with. And we've seen the history of like Caps playing Orianna. It was the Worlds with the Nocturne Orianna. It was also like I remember playing against his Orianna in the best of 5 where we beat them. It always comes up, Thorin. It always comes up where we beat them for the Worlds. He also played Orianna then. And true. I think these are like the signs of Caps and BB being uncomfortable in the way the team approaches the game, because they are known and good at something. They're not perfect players, but they are super, super good at the very specific way to approach the game. And I think they showed that way better in the first series against KOI. But this time around, like KOI just broke them in the early game too fast. And I think in that game 4, still, I think G2 should have won that. BB was in a great position.
Let's talk about this one. Because here's the thing, I'm with you. I do think if you look at G2 is still a Hansama team, mate. I mean, the one game they won was just they got Hansama going early, and then they could get the game going. Like, you can see this team's based around him being actually like their best player, you can argue at the moment. In game 4, though, that's where it's like, well, we've got the conditions, we've got you some kills, mate, we've got the game going. Like, I'm with you, that should have, if that was the G2 people thought they were, that should have been a game 5. We should be pushing through, but like, that mad props to KOI for being able to stay in the game. Like, these guys, they've got the championship mentality, mate. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I like that. There was just some like 3-4 crucial mistakes. I'm still thinking about that Caps moment when he just stumbled into River with phase rise. That was just such a crazy moment, because I think draft-wise, they were in such a good spot too. I didn't think that the Kassadin was that good of a lock-in in this particular game. But after that fight, they also got Atakan, and suddenly like Kassadin and K'Sante were just giga accelerated, and Jinx, like both Hans Sama and Caps in that game just itemized so poorly. Like Caps went Hourglass in that game. Hourglass. When you have Thresh on your team, Skarner on your team, and the only threat really is like Nafiri and like Leona, like that's not enough. You're not playing against Vi or anything. It's like you going Hourglass instead of Liandry's in that game was absurd in my opinion. Jinx buying IE on 3 when there's a 300 armor K'Sante and Leona on the enemy team. Like the LDR problem with Hans Sama always, not as egregious in this one because he actually went in IE but just didn't have LDR. It was just like, they just didn't seem to be in the right headspace in comparison to Koi, who just was in the right headspace to win. It's like they walked into that finals thinking they deserved to win, that this is their win. They did everything they could leading into that finals, and I think that's just the best form of confidence that you can have when you know you did everything you could moving into the finals, and just props to them. Like really, really deep respect for this one.
By the way, the reason why actually I do think the Kassadin game was significant is one of the points on Best Damn League Show that Peter Dunn made was he actually thought that what G2 did in the upper bracket that could be like a blueprint to beating Koi is they showed that you can just use the Fearless draft element to drain down Jojo's champion pool, so that like essentially if as he plays his champions, you play his champions, eventually if you get to game 4 and game 5, he doesn't have any left. And people know the thing about Jojo over winter and then the first half of this split was he had a very limited champion pool. You knew exactly what he wanted to play. He wanted to play Azir and fucking Victor and what is it? What's the other one? Fucking Yorn. These are the champions he wants to get to. Maybe an Ari every now and then. But like if you look at it, bro, the fact he's playing Kassadin and winning the game in the finals, like, this is big time shit. Like again, if people want to make it that this guy's a meme, Yamato, he actually just for real beat Caps. So his team beat Caps. He actually played really well himself too. Like this is a big time performance for Jojo.
Like we heard the story, right? The like the Casio lock-in, the Kassadin lock-in. This was like some first time shit that he just pulled off on stage. And that we mentioned some moments like really set you up to have scars for a lifetime, like with Cream and his international performances. It's like if you drop like a first time champion that you haven't played in quite some time and you like perform and win, that really, really sets you up for success in the long term, because having the balls to pull this off is so crucial in a format that's going to be like fearless for the end of time. Like you're not going to be able to play comfort always. And on the topic of fearless, it's like we see this all over the world. It's like you see occasional games where it's like the better team is just losing because there's just so many factors. I just wanted to bring this up because the conversation around fearless was always like, oh, pro players should be able to play all these champs. It's like, no, it's fucking hard. It's really, really hard. It's very difficult.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.